Hold on. I have to bring attention to this because it is the fakest shit I've ever seen in my entire life. Hold on. God, this virtue signal cuck is actually so lame.
If you're an American currently living abroad, what is one time that made you realize that America...
So I moved to the UK about 10 years ago for university, and literally my very first night there, I was fresh off the plane. It was Freshers Night, which is like the whole first week of university in the UK. You like go out drinking at like different bars or whatever. And we went out drinking, and this one girl that I was with got so drunk that on the way back home to our student accommodation, she was like, oh, I need to sit down. And she sat down and she just like passed out, and we could not wake her up. Like the girl was just like dead to the world, it seemed like. And immediately the people I was with was like, we need to call an ambulance. And being an American, I was like, we cannot call an ambulance. Like I had just met this girl. I had no idea if she could afford an ambulance. So I was like begging them not to call an ambulance. And they were looking at me like, do you want this person to die? Like, what is wrong with you? So they called an ambulance. The ambulance came, they like checked her out. Like she was, you know, alive or whatever. And they took her to the hospital. And I was like hysterical because
I don't know what you're gonna say, but this literally happens all the time. I know. Shut the fuck up. It does not happen all the time. Maybe if somebody's like, oh, I got a headache or I feel really sick, like, should I call the ambulance? Like, no, let's drive your ass to the hospital. But if somebody's like on the ground, like fucking pass the fuck out, nobody's saying shit like, oh no, like, hold on, the ambulance is too expensive. Bullshit. I'm calling 500 caps on that bullshit statement. This is some shit that some Gen Zer dreamed up, okay? She literally said that she went to study abroad in the UK. Her family is rich as and this is what they imagine poor people's lives are like. Like, poor people must be really scared because the cops are killing them all the time. The CIA is selling them crack constantly. Ambulances are ambushing them for $1,500 bills, no matter what. Bullshit. Bullshit. No shot. If somebody is passed out and dying, people are calling a fucking ambulance.
I was like, oh my God, I've like just moved here and I've like potentially ruined this person's life by like putting them in medical debt for the next God knows how long by calling.
How much do you think a fucking ambulance is? Like, come on, like I've ruined this person's whole life. Like they suck, sure, but
an ambulance. And like they brought me home, they sat me down and they were like, what are you freaking out about? And I explained what I was so worried about. And they were like, ambulances are free. Hospitals are free. What is wrong with you?
It's like $8K. Pretty sure it's like the average cost for an ambulance in the United States, I think, is around $1,500 or less.
And like, I hadn't realized until that point that healthcare in the UK was
that's if you have no insurance whatsoever.
Free. And I still, to this day, like, get nervous every time I have to call an ambulance.
Like, listen to this statement.
Nervous every time I have to call an ambulance.
How many fucking ambulances are you calling, Chief? Why is everybody dropping dead around you? Maybe they're trying to kill themselves to get away from how fucking retarded you are. Get the fuck out of here.
But
also, nobody's saying anything this whole time. It's like, oh, I'm gonna call the ambulance, and this girl's like, no, oh, it's so expensive. Is this like a sitcom where nobody's saying anything to her? Like, oh, bro, don't worry about the cost. It's like, no, don't do it. She's like diving for the phone to try to save the stranger's financial history or future. Like, come on. I'm 31 years old in the US and I've never been in a situation where I need to call the ambulance. I think I've seen it twice in my life. Once is when my grandpa got a heart attack and the other is when my friend growing up got hit by a car. How sore are the comments? I think a few people were calling cap on this. I remember going into septic shock once and I was still like, nah, let me Uber my ass to the hospital instead. If you're going septic, aren't you like dying? How long to die once septic shock? Condition can kill an affected person as little as, that's 3 stages of sepsis. This says within 12, as little as 12 hours, within a few days. You're good, yeah. I would Uber to the hospital, fuck that. What does Dr. House say about ambulances? To steelman her point, I think she was hesitant to call the ambulance for a drunk person. They'd be all right and yoinking 2K out of their bank account for a possible non-life-threatening emergency. Sure, I mean, like, there might be a few reasons why you wouldn't call an ambulance. But none of them has to do with healthcare being too expensive. Usually it has to do with, like, this is retarded. Like, I think when me and Mel were in Amsterdam or Copenhagen, I think, there was, somebody was having a bad trip on an edible. And her 2 friends ended up calling the ambulance. And it's like, they sat there, but it's like, what are you gonna do? Like, they're not gonna pump her stomach for it's fucking weed. You're just gonna have to sit there and suffer for a couple hours. Like, what are you gonna do?